Call for a motion in a second. I'll motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence for our military.
To the flag of the United States of
Sure, we have Mr. Murphy,
Present.
Ms. Mallon,
Present.
Ms. Kennedy, Mr. Middleman, Mrs. Aguilas, Mrs. Napolitano Furno,
Present.
Mr. Kolahifar,
Present.
Mr. Hauser,
Present.
and Ms. Santo,
Present.
and myself, Ms. Kemp, the district clerk.
Move on to agenda items. The public comment will be held as agenda items, what is this, prior to the new discussion items. So, is that in the minutes?
We're here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, what does this mean?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, I call for motion and a second to approve the minutes, revised minutes of August 24th, 2021. Motion,
Motion.
second. No one wants to second it? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. I call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the September 14th, 2021 Board of Ed meeting. Motion, I'll make a motion.
Second.
Brian, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I call for a motion and a second to accept the revised minutes of the July 13th, 2021 reorganization meeting. Motion,
Motion.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
What's the revision?
It was the committee, the facility committee conversation, so it was actually discussed twice during the meeting, during the reorg meeting. In the beginning, when I originally did the minutes, I listened to the first conversation regarding the committee, but the second conversation that ended up getting approved was you, Ms. Aguilas, and Ms. Kennedy being the board representatives on the facility advisory committee, so the minutes just update that reflection.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to discussion items.
We didn't need a vote on that. There's only the motion and second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion so carried. Okay, we'll go on to discussion items. We're discussing procedures, item procedures. Who handles that? Dean?
Yes, so we have, the first is a tenure recommendation. So I'd like to invite up Mr. Joe Licata, principal of Ronkonkoma Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. Hello. Thank you to our Board of Education and our administration. 2 years ago, I got a phone call about 8 in the morning from principal of Sycamore Middle School, Sycamore Elementary School. I'm the middle school principal. And Mr. Stu Pollock. And he says to me, Joe, did you see the Board of Education meeting last night? And I said, no, I didn't. Why? So he said to me, well, you won the jackpot. He said, you won the jackpot, you're one of the luckiest guys in the district. So I said, really? I said, why is that? He said, well, Brian Wrinkle is going to be starting in your middle school. And I did know Brian. I knew him working with Miss Gail Santo, also working with Mr. Pollock. I've worked with him in a couple of projects, but he couldn't have been any more correct. Mr. Wrinkle has made Ronkonkoma Middle School so much of a better place. It's my honor to work with him every day. He is an advocate for kids. He works well with children. He loves children. He has had such wonderful relationships with our faculty and staff. I can't really say enough. I think it was after 2 years, it's an understatement what Mr. Pollock had said. So it really does give me great pleasure to speak on his behalf. I thank all of you for allowing me to be here tonight. And I just would love to congratulate Mr. Wrinkle for an unbelievable job that he's done so far. And his future is just beginning. He's going to succeed at absolutely everything he does. So thank you so much, Brian. Really. Thank you to our Board of Education, Superintendent. Thank you, folks.
So it's our pleasure to recommend Mr. Brian Wrinkle for tenure for the Connecticut Central School District.
Okay, so at this point, call for a motion and a second.
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
So at the last board meeting, Mrs. Napolitano-Ferno had asked for a presentation on some of the activities that our students participated in for 9/11. So we have a brief PowerPoint that we'd like to just show, which highlights some of the great work that our faculty and staff are doing with our students in honor of Patriots Day.
Supposed to be playing music, right?
Yeah.
Is the audio working?
No, there's no audio for the first part, just for the videos.
We haven't forgotten. These are people who had lives and celebrated birthdays, and we recognize that on a daily basis by placing a single white rose on each of the names on their birthdays. Every morning, our visitor services team, we meet to go over any pertinent information for that day, and then afterwards, one of the supervisors, we print the names of the victims who would have had a birthday that day. And then we cut a single white rose, and we place the white rose on their names on the memorial. And then throughout the day, we will go around just to make sure that the roses have been moved. And if it is moved, we will place another rose just in case. We received the roses from the Lower Manhattan Florist by the name of Floratech. They donate the roses for our birthday program. The owner, Mikey, and his team, they hand select the roses and they take care to make sure that we receive the prettiest roses so that it looks nice when we place the roses on the memorial for not only visitors, but family members to see. It can be a lot to take in for our visitors when they first arrive on the memorial, seeing the nearly 3,000 names of the victims from 9/11. So seeing with a single white rose name, it gives our staff the opportunity to make a connection with the visitors, to tell the stories of the victims, let them know that they were just like us. It's important for us to honor that on a daily basis.
Darkness, my old friend, I've come to talk with you again, because a vision softly creeping left its seeds while I was sleeping, and the vision that was planted in my brain still remain within the sound of silence. In restless dreams I walked alone, narrow streets of cobblestone. Neath the halo of a street lamp, I turned my collar to the cold and damp. When my eyes were stabbed by the flash of a neon light that split the night and touched the sound of silence. And in the naked light I saw 10,000 people, maybe more. People talking without speaking. People hearing without listening. People writing songs and voices never shared. And no one stood the sound of silence. Fools say I do silence like a cancer grows. Hear my words and I teach you. Take my hands and I reach you. On my hands, I silent raindrops.
Thank you for doing that, Dean.
We got just
More?
one more. We got a couple more slides.
This is Essie Featured. This is the power of sports.
What would you do in the last hour of your life? Where would you be? Who would remember? What would it look like? Maybe it would look like this. A symbol of absolutely the most pure form of compassion and love. No greater love hath one than to lay down his life for his fellow man. It's all right here in this red bandana for me. Wells Crowther first began carrying the red bandana when he was 6 years old, growing up in Nyack, New York, a suburb north of Manhattan. It soon became a signature and a link between father and son.
Wells was a little boy, and my husband took a little white handkerchief and folded up and put it in his pocket. And he said, "No, Wells, this white handkerchief, that's for show. Here's the bandana, that's for blow. Blow your nose." So from the time he was a very little boy, that's what he carried, and most of the red bandanas.
He loved having that red bandana. He always had it with him. He always had it with him. By the time Wells was in high school, he spent most of his time in two places. On the field or at the firehouse. As soon as he turned 16, he signed up as a junior firefighter. He had a great affinity for it. He loved helping people.
I just remember a kid that was a smart kid. He knew he was concentrating on what he had to do, and you could tell he kind of had the right stuff,
In sports, Wells was a leader, captain on the ice, a top scorer on the field, always wearing number 19.
He was a real team player. It was his quote in his high school yearbook. There is no I in team.
This is
So I'd like to thank Mr. Kassane as well as all of the buildings who participated. And, we look forward to being able to present these activities that the students do throughout the year. So we'll be making sure that we do that.
Thank you, Dean, I appreciate it. And beautiful job across district, beautiful job, students, staff, beautiful.
So we did have, a tragedy hit our district recently. One of our bus drivers, Mr. Michael Franchi, who passed away unexpectedly. Mr. Franchi had worked for the Connecticut Central School District for 16 years as a bus driver. And at this time, I'd just like to take a moment of silence for him and to honor his life and his work in Connecticut.
Board of Education topics. The first topic will be mask issues. Who brought that up?
It's not mask issues, somebody changed the agenda. I don't know who, but it was specifically supposed to say mask exemptions. I wrote that in the email. Correct, Jesse?
Yes, that was what you wrote in the email.
Okay, so it was changed to mask issues. So mask exemptions was added because we have gotten some emails, some complaints about children who've needed a mask exemption due to medically or mental health or medically. And I just wanted to let people know what that was, because some people are sending emails that it would be more beneficial if they were able to know and understand what documentation they need to be medically evaluated and finding the best alternative for their child. So at this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Santa if you would be able to explain to the district, to the community in the district, what exactly a mask exemption would be and what you would need if you needed that medically or for mental health services.
Absolutely. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On rare occasion, there have been exceptions wherein students have been exempt from wearing the mask for either medical or physical restrictions. Those documentations that Ms. Napolitano was talking about are doctor's orders. A script and corroborating information would be required to be submitted to the Pupil Personnel Services Department, which is my office, at the Prem Learning Center. You could fax it over, and if you have any questions, you could call extension 3968, and we would be happy to guide you. Outside of that, you should also share the communication from your physician with your school nurse, and they in turn will corroborate with my office. I might also bring to attention, sometimes students, for either physical or medical reasons, are not able to wear a mask. There are alternatives. For example, if a student is not able to wear a mask for a medical reason, which is substantiated by a doctor's note and either medical history, then sometimes an alternative such as a shield is provided, so that there is a barrier, but the restriction of the mask or the physical contact for whatever reasons may be, it's an alternative to that option. Okay?
Thank you so much, Ms. Santa.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to volunteer coach regulation. That would be you again, Jackie?
Actually, I think it was more than me, but that was okay. I'll take the lead on it. There has been some discussion across the district about our policy for volunteer coach regulations. I know without, you'll be able to answer? Okay, because people were asking, and I know I didn't bring this up, so I know Linda was looking into it. I know other board members had brought it up, but I wanted to let the community know what that exactly is and why, and whatever you could add to it to let them know.
Sure. So there are Board of Education policies and then regulations, and those are more administrative. So the volunteer coach is a regulation, and that is something that was put in place, I guess, historically there, to have your parent be able to coach a child as a volunteer. That was one of the things that are in the regulation. So that is something that we historically haven't done probably a great job following, but now with Mr. Malor as our new athletic director, we're making sure that we're following the practices and procedures that have been set forth by the board and administration.
So I had a few people reach out to me regarding this, and we've had coaches that were, I'm just going to pick a building. I'm not picking it for any particular reason, just for as an example. Say at the high school, this coach has been coaching for X amount of years. Their child's now in the high school. Now that coach could potentially be a coach for that child. So what do you do in a position like that when that person's been coaching in that position for so many years? And now what do? You ask them to step down? You ask them to go somewhere else? I mean, I think sometimes there could be exceptions to the rule. I understand you got to follow policies, got to follow the rules.
But if you have already somebody that's been in that role for quite some time, and now they kick them out because their child is doing it, you know, it could be a conflict.
So the difference is that is an appointed position, so that coach is being paid. This regulation refers specifically for those who are volunteering to participate in the programs.
Yeah, I'm speaking of both. Sorry.
So for coaches who have been coaching, it's like teachers who have been teaching, you know, they are, it's not something that we would want to encourage, that they're coaching or teaching their children, but it is something that does happen, and it is something that we do allow to happen if they are assigned, you know, and appointed to those positions.
Okay, so what are we doing now? Because I've had a few people reach out to me to explain those particular situations. There's different variables that happen to be where that child is end up on the team. So what do we do?
Really, why was this brought to the forefront?
I,
What was the real reason this was brought to the forefront?
Because a board member saw something that she felt was unacceptable, so she brought it forward. So then they looked at the regulation said a parent of a student, they should not be on the same team because there could be a conflict, perhaps, maybe not.
I understand, but I agree with Mylene that
That's how-
if it's somebody who's been coaching a volunteer for, let's say, 10 years, and now their child is in that sport, I certainly wouldn't say this year, because now all of a sudden we're going to follow regulations that haven't been followed for 100 years, that we're going to say, you know, it just seems very targeted. At least that's my opinion on it.
Well,
So this was one of the policies I actually asked to have looked at. I actually see nothing wrong with a coach that has been in that position, remaining in that position if their child comes up. What I asked to have looked at is the parent that follows their child. I don't feel that's appropriate to only want to volunteer where your child is coaching, is playing. So I asked that this policy in particular be looked at.
and once they looked at it, they realized that there's a regulation before they didn't, this administration did not realize the regulation until you asked for everyone to look into it.
Well, there was a
So now-
specific case where, you know, it's been in place for years, but
Right,
there's
no
a
one noticed.
specific coach who has been coaching for years, who actually helped the program when a coach left for another district. This parent stepped up and coached, volunteered, ran a varsity program for a few months, and now his son is up in that area, and now he can coach. But it was okay, you know, years ago when.
Well, Brian, I agree with you, because that's exactly the situation. How do we not allow that? That's my point. I'm not saying to go against regulations. I'm saying you can't decide this year, all of a sudden, now with one coach, because it affects, to go against that. That's just my opinion.
So I just, you know, want to caution the board as far as, you know, making this so specific that we're identifying or, you know, outlining the individual or sport that that we're talking about.
So I didn't have any particular sport or individual in mind. I was just speaking in general. If there is an individual that had coached that sport, and then all of a sudden their child comes up, I see no reason why they can't remain in that position. You know, every rule has an exception, and I don't think this is any different. My whole thing was the volunteer that only wants to volunteer at the level their child is. And that's across any sport at any level.
Dean, I'm speaking about the varsity basketball.
Well, we're not talking about the position, but if a person had
Oh,
volunteered,
Dean had asked what sport we were talking about.
if a person volunteered for a sport and their child wasn't on it for X amount of years, and now the child moved up into that sport, that's a whole different story. So there are exceptions to rules.
Then maybe that regulation, Lee, should be relooked at,
I don't
and
know.
that should be put in there.
So I'll make a recommendation to the superintendent to have that policy revisited, and we'll
it's-
provide an update to the board.
Right, but I like the idea that, what Marisol said, that someone should just not follow their child because that's not really volunteering. Anyway, but thank you.
Well, it was brought to my attention that the person in the role for X amount of It was brought to my attention that the person was in the role for X amount of years. If their child happens to move into that particular sport, I think that should be the exception to the rule.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now that we're enforcing this policy, Dean, I'm sure we probably outed some people of that position. Have moved them, or are they still currently holding that position?
I don't have that information, but I'll get it from you I'll get it from the athletic director and give it to you.
Thank you. Board of Attendance and Board of Receptions. I didn't know it was off the table.
I have no problem talking about that, but Lee, there are things that were not added, as Jesse and me had discussed.
Wait. Why was this Board of Attendance at a?
Who brought that up? Who put that on there?
I didn't put it on there.
Lee, that was you. That was you. That was from
That's why I'm taking it
the
off.
honoring.
So, no reason why it was taken off. I think it was a good idea that it was on there. Why are we removing it?
What do you want to talk about?
Because there was somebody in our school that was getting, one of our staff was recognized for a very nice award. So I thought it would be good as a recommendation that you made. I'm not sure why you're retracting.
I'm not retracting, I just wasn't going to discuss it this evening, but if you want to discuss it, go ahead.
So if you want to retract, then I'm fine with it.
Okay, let's just move it on, I'll bring it up another meeting. Let's go on to mass mandate litigation.
Okay, but Lee, I also have other things that were not put on here that I showed.
Let's finish
Okay,
what we
I'm just,
have.
the mass mandate litigation can't be discussed tonight regardless, because we don't have an attorney, which myself and Mylene requested, and we couldn't get an attorney for tonight. So if we don't have an attorney here to discuss it, then obviously it has to be moved to the next meeting where the attorney is at the next meeting.
You could have called him, you could have called him, you called more.
We couldn't get 3 board members to say yes to have the attorney here tonight. That's what went on. Let's keep transparency, that's what went on. I requested the attorney, Mylene requested the attorney, and that's all we got.
I didn't know that we had to,
It was another expense, number one. Number two, you
I have no
could,
problem with the attorney being here. I didn't know
you
that.
could have called the attorney like you do many other times. You could have asked some questions after reading the, he sent, it costs money just to send us over the proposal that he looked into.
Exactly what I told you all in an email. I said to you, did I not, that I spoke to other districts, and even asking to look into something, an attorney is not going to do it for free. There's no free consultation with your school attorney.
But if you called him up and asked a question, he doesn't charge you. If you had a couple of questions on that paperwork that he sent you that he did charge us for, you could have called him.
The point is that the community had questions regarding this. So if the community has a question regarding for or against, who are they directed to speak to, Lee?
They're not expected, no. The community doesn't sit here and ask the attorney questions, and you know that.
Lee, last year we spent over $500,000, over, the line is over $500,000 on legal fees, over $500,000 in legal fees. This mask mandate litigation, if you look into it, has a cap at $100,000. That's $100,000, all districts involved. Okay, that's the high-low. It's called the high-low, what attorneys do. I want the attorney here so that they can speak about it, because I'm not an attorney.
Okay.
But what I do know is there's what's called the high-low, which means it's $50,000, so no matter what, you have to pay $50,000, and even if they only spend 10, it's gonna be a $50,000 charge, but that's a charge across all the districts who join, share that charge. Or it goes to 100,000 and it's capped at 100,000, no matter if 50 different districts joined. I'm just giving you what the facts are. Number two, I asked our district clerk, and she'll be working on it for me, to give us how much does this district spend in legal fees and lawsuits each year? Over 5,000, over 10,000, over 20,000, over 50,000, because we all know how much we spend. And it's not all, I shouldn't say that, that's wrong to say it's wasted money, but there was an alternative. Grievances, there is an alternative. We wouldn't have these fees if certain things were done maybe more appropriately. So I'm just saying, we can't keep saying that one litigation might be bad, but the other 500,000 or more we spend, it's really, and let's be very clear, there are more coming down the pipe now that there is this, and we can't really get into, but there is what's called the Child Victims Act that came down, and now districts, this is a public fact, districts are going to be looking at millions of dollars that they may have to pay out to victims. Millions. They may not be covered from insurance. That's millions of dollars. So I just want to make that clear, what something costs. That's it. We'll go over this with the lawyer next time, and we can go from there. But I do have bus driver shortage that I wanted to discuss. I do have a few questions that I asked to ask in public because I don't want everything sent in emails, answered in emails, and then the public never knows what their questions that they've been asking, what the answers are. So can I start asking those?
Wait, no, wait, can I just put a hold on that because I didn't realize that we have our student government, Charlotte DeSimone here, and I'd like to know where she is so we can say hi and give her the opportunity to give her student government report because she might want to go home and do her homework.
Hello to all the new and old presiding board members. My name is Charlotte DeSimone. I was your Board of Ed rep last year, and I will continue to be this year, along with Zachary Palizzato, who unfortunately could not make it here today. So I have a lot to report on, so bear with me. Starting with the senior parking lot proposal, which you heard in June, it went forward and it was received very well. It was very profitable. We had a huge turnout. We sold 153 spots. And it looks beautiful. I mean, you can go outside, you can look at the senior parking lot. It's gorgeous. And we plan on making this a yearly tradition because of its success. This week, most of our clubs had our first in-person meeting since COVID, which is very exciting after a year of full virtual clubs. And we had very high attendance rates. Tomorrow, there will be a club fair in the cafeteria patio between periods 2 and 8. Students, especially freshmen, can come in and talk to actual students or advisors who do the clubs and see what they are so that they can know what they want to join. The senior breakfast is planned for this Sunday, October 3rd, from 9 to 11 a.m. in the cafeteria. We are going to be having our annual Spirit Week between October 4th and 8th. Student government is sponsoring it as usual, and there are going to be cash prizes for our ticket lottery. The schedule is as followed. Monday, Pajama Day. Tuesday, Hawaiian Luau. Wednesday, Favorite Holiday. Thursday, Wild West Cowboy or Cowgirl. And Friday is Spirit Day, where you wear red or white or Connecticut Pride. Now, homecoming business. On Friday, October 8th, students will be dismissed from class at 12:30 p.m. for our pep rally. We will welcome both varsity and junior varsity fall sports. The show choir will perform our national anthem. The marching band, kick line, and color guard will also perform. Winners for the class court of class for classes of 2022, 23, 24, and 25 will be announced. There will also be class competitions and giveaways. Dismissal will be at 2:06 as normal, and buses will run as normal as well. The next day, October 9th, that's a Saturday, homecoming is going to be taking place. The parade will start at 12 p.m., which involves class floats and our grand marshal, who is yet to be decided. We will also have the marching band, kick line, color guard, and cheerleaders. The football game will start at 2 p.m. This is open to the whole community. Marching bands will perform at halftime, and student government representatives will be present. I now have the great honor of extending an invitation to all Board of Ed members, as well as higher level administration, to be official judges at our parade as well as the game. A formal written invitation will be sent to the board this week, but I am here in person to extend it to you. So if there's any questions at all.
No?
No? Okay, great.
I just got to tell you, you guys did a great job. The parking lot, we all saw it, it looked amazing.
Great, thank you so much.
You guys did awesome.
It was a lot of work, but it was
And
totally worth it.
Beautiful 9/11 at the high school, beautiful.
Thank you.
Really, and I'm looking forward to homecoming. We went to the football game, the first one. it was so great to see all the kids out there, and
It was,
they call it
yeah.
the bird cage over there on the.
Yeah,
it
great
was
turnout.
Amazing,
It really
amazing to
was.
see.
Yes. Well, thank you so much.
I second that. You guys did an amazing job. Parking lot looks beautiful, and I look forward to homecoming. I'll be there too.
Great, thank you so much.
Okay, Jackie, the floor is yours.
Jackie, before you jump into your thing, we didn't settle this. I wanted the attorney here because I had questions. The community had questions. And before anybody can make any informed decisions, it should have been spoken about with the attorney. In the email, I did ask the board president, if parents have questions regarding this, who is going to answer those questions? I got radio silence. I was told, like the rest of the board, if we had questions, to speak with the attorney. I felt that this particular issue should be made transparent, that we have that discussion in public. So I just wanted to go on the record for that, and I know, Jackie, you were supportive of that.
Absolutely. I think that it's important to have an attorney present because we're not attorneys. And even if we were, she's being paid to look into this and give us an informed information, clarity, and anything else. Even regardless if we joined or didn't join, that's not the issue. The issue is there are people in the community who have questions, there are board members who have questions, and they should really be answered.
Okay, let me respond to that. All questions from community members should be in writing, sent to administration.
Lee, you already,
Excuse me.
you just wrote an email that you don't want them doing that. You just wrote an email that we couldn't ask
Excuse
questions.
me, I said, this is the procedure. We don't have an answer and question session. It's a board meeting in public. It's our meeting in public. However, if the community has questions, you write the questions, you send them to administration. Administration will answer them, and where do they put them? On the.
We have a board docs page.
They have a board docs page for everyone to see the answers, not just the person that's asking the question, but for the community that wants to see the answers will go there. If we spend a whole night just going back and forth with community members, there will not be any work done. Okay?
I understand that, Lee, but there's also
So this is the process that we've been going under. This is the way it's done. This is the way it's been done. And respectfully, we want the community to hear them, but we want to respond to them in a professional manner, written, so it's there in black and white, very transparent.
Okay, Lee, we had people send an email stating, I want these read at the public meeting. I want this asked at the public meeting. I want this asked at the public meeting. Emails going unanswered. Answers not being put on board docs. It's all good and great to sit here and say, this is a procedure, and this is the protocol, and this is the policy. Now the big question is, who enforces it? Because we're supposed to be the Board of Ed enforcing that, and I don't see us doing that.
Dean, you want to respond to this, please?
So we do have an active page on board docs where, as community questions come in, we do respond to them and keep it updated. Jesse helps facilitate that as well. If that's been the practice that we have been following, and, there are some questions that we can't answer because they are either, deal with a staff member or something like that, or deal with a topic such as the litigation with the mask that we're not qualified to answer.
I don't have a problem with that. I think I have a problem with when parents send emails and don't get answers. I've now received, and all of us have, received emails in the last few weeks stating they have not gotten answered. We have board members that are stepping up and saying, please answer this email. Please answer this email. Please answer this email. We got the consensus this week. It was nice. We're now 3 people said, please answer that email. Please answer that email. I mean, at some point, the emails have to get answered. We can't have, you can't keep telling community people, send an email to administration on the board, and administration on the board won't answer you. I mean, because that's really what message we're sending people. I'm not trying to always be the Debbie Downer, but I'm just being honest. That is what's going on. we're getting emails. Does any board member want to say that's not happening?
No, that's 100%. And we read all your emails and we appreciate your feedback and your questions. They are being read, we promise. And we do ask that they be responded.
And most of the time, we're not allowed to respond to some of those emails. Yes, we read all of them. And the first email I responded to was posted on Facebook within 30 seconds. So, sometimes, like Jackie said, they should be responded to. But it's not necessarily it's on the board members to respond to those.
Okay, I will bring
Thank
it
you.
back to the superintendent we'll relook at the practice that we have for responses and, we'll make sure that everybody's questions are answered that we can answer.
So when the parent has a legal question, Lee, where do you direct them to answer their question? Because obviously our administration can't answer that question, the Board of Ed can't answer the question.
So what I'll do is, again, I'll inquire with the attorneys with regards to those types of questions and how we as a district can respond to those.
So in the spirit of transparency, shouldn't those questions be answered in public? Because there's a number of people that have those same concerns or thoughts or questions.
I'm not sure. When we get guidance from council, then I'll be able to respond to that question.
Okay.
Dean, is putting them on board docs similar to in public because the public has access to them?
Yes.
Should I go with the next question, the ones that you guys answered, but I want the community to hear? Dean, I'll go to you first. What progress is our district making to close the achievement gap to ensure that all of our students benefit from the excellent educational experience our Connect faculty offer?
So that process started this past school year, where we had identified students in need of additional support. And at the high school, we ran our credit recovery. We ran it during the school day, during the school year, which is something that's new for us. In addition to that, we organized a variety of different summer programs, some more effective than others, but this was our first run at actually organizing and running some summer programs for our students. So we did collect a lot of feedback from parents and the staff that worked as things that were effective and things that were not as effective. So we ran a program for our middle school and our elementary students. Our middle school program was very successful. Our elementary program received mixed reviews because primarily it was virtual, so that's, poses a challenge. We ran an E&L program and provided transportation to all the different programs, which is something new that we haven't done. In addition, for our high school students, we provided transportation to the Eastern Suffolk Summer School Program at East Islip. And I know that was, parents were very grateful for that. So as we plan out for this year, we're looking to add both after school and evening, as well as some Saturday academies around a variety of different topics. As more becomes formalized, I'll be updating the board. So that is, part of the CRSSA grant, as well as the ARP grant, is we have to allocate a certain percentage for what they have termed learning loss. And that's because of the, obviously the pandemic. And, for our elementary students who were in every day last year, we didn't see as much of a challenge, but, definitely for our middle school and high school students who were attending on an alternate day basis in person, definitely a challenging year. And, we're working hard to support our kids throughout the school year this year.
Thank you, Dean. Next would be, it says superintendent, but I guess it's going to you. Can we survey parents of special education students about their experience requesting evaluations, accommodations, IEP, RTI, 504s, or additional supports, especially in regards to COVID time period? I really wanted to know if we can find out what do they need specifically because I've heard so many have had challenging time.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely do. We could survey, our neediest populations, their parents, and to kind of, not to plan for the next event, but to be prepared for that next opportunity. And maybe some of that data that comes back to us will help us guide, some of the conversations with our extended school year program or any other offerings that we're going to be having for our students.
That would be great, thank you. Okay, human resources, coming your way. Did COVID play a part in decreasing our enrollment numbers? If so, do we know how much of that enrollment decrease is a result of parents seeking private education for students with special needs that felt they could not get their IEP or support services they felt their child may have needed?
I'm going to pass that question over to Gail Misanto as she deals with enrollment.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The first question, Ms. Jackie, was whether or not COVID impacted enrollment? I'm sorry?
And I apologize, I would have had these sent to you. I had them sent to these guys, I apologize. This was, did COVID play a part in decreasing our enrollment numbers? And if so, do we know how much of that enrollment decrease is a result of parents that are seeking private education for students with special needs that felt they could not get their IEP or support services they felt their child may have needed?
Okay, thank you. I totally understand. To answer that question specifically, no, there was not a reduction in enrollment, and there was no relationship to reduction in enrollment and the access of special education supports or programs. If you do remember last board meeting, I did announce, however, the handful of parents that elected to go on homeschooling. So they are providing a private instruction for their child. The district is monitoring their progress on a quarterly report manner as the commissioner requires. But that is not because of denial of programming or lack of access. It is rather a fear of exposure or students that have medical frailties. So the parents have elected to keep them home.
Thank you very much. I have another question, and I'm sure it's going to be coming your way too. And again, I apologize. These really, I would have sent them to you. This one, I'm going to skip the one about the 3 years homeschooled. I'll look into that another time. What is the issue with the vaccinations in regards to students in schools? We were getting some numbers. How many of these students not up to date of a certain, maybe they need for the next school year? How many of these students have we reached out to their families and found out if some insurances will not allow more than one well visit per calendar year? Some will not allow you to go before the time period allowed, or parents have to pay for the entire visit that will not be covered by insurance. Please advise what we're doing in these instances.
Okay, so while it is true, I can relate personally, as we all can, that there's a limit to how many times you can go to the physician and use your annual checkup. But specifically as it relates to immunizations, that impacts more the annual physical. That's why the state allows us to accept a 12-month range for the physical. However, immunizations, those are required by law across the state, and they're timed depending on student age and developmental ability and what immunizations the DOH, the Department of Health, dictates that a student has. So we give the parents, we meaning the school nurses in the district, forewarn and remind the parents 4 to 5 months in advance of what's required in September. So our first notice is sent out in June or in the spring, again over the summer, and then as the due date is approaching, we send out a reminder, and then unfortunately that last warning letter that's saying if the immunization is not received, then we'd have to exclude you. So we were just keeping you aware of the actions that the school takes as far as their due diligence. The school nurse is working very hard. The number always seems higher at the beginning of the month in September, but it's very nominal now. The parents were very compliant. We also wanted to make sure that the Board of Education did not confuse those numbers with rates of COVID incidents. Okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Can I just ask a question? Are they only sent letters, or are personal phone calls made to the parents or guardians also?
It starts with verbal communication. The nurses call the parents. The letter in the spring is at the end of the year, so it's the reminder before the summer starts. So it just reminds the parent to take advantage of those 2 months, because when the child returns, we'll only have X amount of days to uphold all immunization requirements. So phone call conversations first, and then gentle reminder letters.
Okay, I was just asking because I know for me, I get home, I throw my mail on a pile, and sometimes I don't get to it. So if the nurse is calling the parent as a reminder, maybe that'll set the process in motion a little quicker?
I promise you, if any nurse is listening right now, they're tweaking in their chairs because they make many, many phone calls.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, my last question is going to the business. This is about our bus driver shortage, and why was the 3% cut from the transportation budget? Did this affect that? What is going on with the hiring of the transportation? And are we having any other issues getting more in? Have we come up with any solutions?
Yep, I can answer that. So I believe the first question was, why was 3% approximately cut from the budget? I've only been here for 2 months, so I had to rely on staff members in the business office to help answer that question. And I spoke to our director of accounting, who plays an important role in the budget process. She mentioned to me that during the preparation of the current school year budget, that they did their best to look at actual line item expenditures from the prior school year to budget for the current school year. The other thing they did was they did projections. So this is last year, projecting for this year what the actual expenditures would be, and they adjusted those budget line items accordingly. So that's the information that I have available to me.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all you're doing. I know it's been a rough month, especially getting phone calls from all of us, too.
You're welcome.
Bob, I'm going to put you on the seat for one more second.
Mm-hmm.
So can you just provide a breakdown of the monies that we received so far with this state or the CARES Act money, and what potential monies are laying out there that needs to be allocated?
Sure, and I don't want to interfere with information that Mr. Middleton is going to present in a little while. I understand he has much more detailed information to present to the board. But for the most part, when we talk about these federal monies, we're talking about monies that have been granted to school districts as part of the coronavirus pandemic period. The first one that you may have heard of is called the CARES Act. All right, that was the first round of stimulus money that the school district got. We got somewhere in the range of around $250,000 plus or minus there. Each district had to present a plan for their CARES Act monies, and that plan had to be approved by the New York State Education Department, which our plan was. The second round of stimulus is called, and I'm just going to use the acronym, CRRSA. Okay, it's more along the lines of the coronavirus relief funding. Our district, once again, had to put together a plan. That plan had to be submitted to the State Education Department. And for the most part, just like the CARES Act, or unlike the CARES Act, which the CARES, we were allowed to go retroactive to when the pandemic started and also go prospectively. The CRRSA funding was more of a prospective thing. So it's really 2 school years in advance that you have to plan to use those funds. The third round of monies are called the ARP, which is the American Rescue Plan. So most districts were given until August 31st to submit a plan to the State Education Department. the state realized that a lot of districts were under pressure trying to reopen schools, so they have granted an extension of time for districts to present their plans for approval. All total, between the CARES Act, the CRRSA, and the American Rescue Plan, our district is receiving approximately in the range of $8 million.
Can you provide examples of how that money's being spent?
So
So, yeah, I'll
I
defer
can
to Mr. Middleton.
Yeah, I can answer that. So the CRRSA and the ARP were released towards the end of last year. And with a very short turnaround to prospectively plan. So some of the items that we have, and I have a detailed list for the board. So we worked on some curriculum writing. We purchased some hardware for our classrooms with regards to like our desktop computers, smart boards. We had a lot of additional sections over the past 2 years due to the board requesting the lower enrollment. So we had classrooms that we previously weren't using that we transitioned into usable classrooms. In addition to that, with all of our students receiving devices, and that was through the Smart Schools Act, which is another funding source for us. We identified that charging was an issue throughout the day for students. So we're in the process of purchasing charging lockers for the secondary schools, as well as charging stations for our 5th grade students and 4th grade students. In addition, we purchased the actual cart itself so that we can store some of our elementary carts. We did that as well. Some other items, are definitely software platforms. And one of the things with this grant is it allows you to supplement, meaning that you can add more licenses and different things, which is different than other grants that we have. So we definitely have software packages. We purchased UPK furniture for our newly established classrooms for our full-day UPK program, as well as some staff training in the ruler program, which Ms. Santo had presented to the board prior to the pandemic. So that's a kind of just a scattershot of our spending. And I do have the grant applications, the FS10s, which is the grant application for the board also, so that they can see the items that we've identified.
And you have to have that approved before.
So that is a process of, we submit it to the State Ed Department. It has a list of assurances as well as, detailed paragraphs as far as what the spending is about. And they, with the ARP, as well as some of the CRSSA, there is, we have to make percentage allocations to provide summer and after-school programs for students, as well as programs that target learning loss.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Dean.
Okay. Okay, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I'll now open the floor up to the public for comment portion of the agenda. This public comment portion is for agenda items only. An additional public comment period will be held later in the evening. Does anyone have any questions on the consent agenda items? Okay, all right. No, this consent agenda items are coming up right now. Consultant service, business name change, facilities advisory committee. I don't think that's what you're here for, but we give you the opportunity if you have a question on that, or you can speak about it now. Other than that, you have to wait until later on, and then you can speak again. Okay, so let's move on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda? Okay, come forward, sir.
As as far as the gentleman that was speaking in regard to the funding from the CRISA and the APR funds and everything else, the Facilities Advisory Committee, now those funds are being used for some of those, I'm guessing ventilation and things like that, are those commingled together, or can they be used separately? Are they kept separately, or?
So when you refer to facilities, are you referring to this, this committee that's been formed to explore the new project, or are you just talking about facilities in general?
The new project, yes.
Okay. So they're really two separate things and two separate sources of funding. The new capital project that's being considered and proposed would be financed with a bond.
Right.
Okay, say a 15-year bond. Whereas these federal funds that have been given to the district can be used for, like you mentioned, that ventilation and do not have to be repaid back.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Motion so carried. Personnel agendas.
Yeah, right above it, it's small.
Yeah, that's after, right? Now we're going to personnel. Yes, come on here a second. It is not showing.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to move to public comment. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. As I mentioned earlier, you should have received a number upon entering the building if you wish to speak this evening. If you do not, please see a security guard in the back of the room and you'll receive a number. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board will take an immediate recess until order is restored. To reiterate, comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board will take once again an immediate recess until order is restored. So we can start that now. Number 1. This is not agenda.
So
And you're number one for non-agenda as well?
they give me A1.
Oh, yours is for agenda, yours is,
We'll let her go and then we'll just.
okay. No, you go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Allison DePina. I'm a parent of 2 children attending school in the Connecticut District. And before I dive into all of this, I am holding the retainer that Lindenhurst was given from the attorneys, quoting $3.25 an hour for all partners in the firm, $2.50 an hour for all associates. In addition, the school district will be responsible for all costs and disbursements as far as copies and court fees and so on. I think it's a little inappropriate to say it would be capped at $100,000.
All right, there's no, she's making a comment here.
So I'm very disappointed by the lack of communication this board and administration show in this community, as well as its inability to lead the way in stopping the divisiveness among the community members. You should all be standing together regarding the importance of following the guidelines set out by the AAP, CDC, and DOH during this ongoing pandemic. We can bounce around all sorts of facts and special select studies to argue all sorts of points, but the truth is none of you are experts, and this situation is still evolving. Until this pandemic has turned into an endemic, we can be certain of the safety of all our children and the people dedicating their lives to teaching them. We must at least do the bare minimum and require masks indoors until further notice, especially if we don't want a vaccine mandate for our children. Any member of this board or community trying to use parents' choice or freedom of choice as an excuse to waste time and money to fight mask requirements needs to realize you are telling our most vulnerable students and teachers, or simply anyone with a loved one at home who is at greater risk of death to this disease, that you don't care if they die. Maybe you will donate to their GoFundMe or buy some matching t-shirts to show them some support, but they are not worth the inconvenience of a mask. I have not seen a single person say they spoke with their actual doctors or pediatricians and were validated in their fight against masks in schools. After speaking with my own, I was assured that the benefits of requiring masks indoors at school for all children and staff greatly outweigh the risks of making them a choice, which would most certainly endanger all of them. It is not your job to make decisions based on your feelings or personal beliefs. It is your job to adhere to the safety regulations and guidelines set out by the experts and scientists who are educated and qualified to make these decisions. If you continue to entertain this nonsense, I will welcome a takeover of the district by the New York State Department of Education. The Department of Health did you a favor in mandating masks for all of our schools across Long Island because of the attacks you have all faced all summer. It is time to stop playing good cop versus bad cop and do what is right so we can move forward in making this the best school year possible for all of our children. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I hope you're all well. My name's Sarah Smith. I'm a doting sister of a Ronkonkoma Middle School student, as you may know. And I just wanted to bring some concerns that were brought to me from her and other students in Ronkonkoma Middle School. As you may be aware, she and her friends, a lot of students in Ronkonkoma Middle School, organized a peaceful and well put together protest in the middle school against the current dress code that has not been updated in many, many years, if it was at all. So with her permission, I would just read the email that she sent as her request. She's at dance, so she couldn't come. She's so talented. So she wrote, "Dear Board of Education," she modified it for tonight, As Ronkonkoma Middle School students, we have been taught to stand up for what we believe is right. Students at this age, 11 to 14, should not be sexualized by teachers, faculty, and staff. People shouldn't see our shoulders, thighs, or midriffs as distracting. If they do, they should face the consequences. Our shoulders and stomachs are not in the way of our learning process. We are hoping by taking action, we can see the change that we want. Spaghetti strap tops should be allowed, so should crop tops and headbands. Thank you for reading, and we hope you will consider amending these policies. Elizabeth Smith. So I also spoke to an alumni of Connecticut, and she shared with me her story regarding the dress code and how it has impacted her. She has requested that I printed it out and I made copies, and I would be able to share with the board if that's okay. I brought them with me. And I think this is a really great way, an easy enough way to show solidarity with the students. Just a little change that could really show that, they're able to make a change and feel comfortable where they're getting education, stuff like that. I know that there's many reasons for the dress code and why certain, policies were put in place, and I'm aware that there's a dress code for Ronkonkoma Middle School, and there's also one for the Board of Education itself. So, after reviewing those, I would also be happy to give my thoughts at a later time, if at all wanted. Is it okay if I give the copies?
You can give it to
Wonderful.
Ms. Kemp.
Great, awesome, thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Two, I thought so. Those are the two ones.
Hi, everybody. I just have a few questions about what's coming up in the school year. I don't know if Dean, it's for you. I might have one for you, Ms. Santo. For parent-teacher conferences, is there a plan yet? Is that going to be in person or virtual? I feel all these PTA meetings and the board meetings are in person. It would be nice to, see my son's teacher face-to-face, one-to-one in person, if that's an option.
Or you can just say, say how you feel, but we're not going to be answering questions. He can answer them, and you can just submit your phone number and he'll
Okay,
answer you
I sent an
privately.
email, so I guess, is that how this works? Will I get a response back? Because I sent it to the
You'll
Board of
get, yes,
Education.
you'll get a response.
Okay, so so I can't ask questions, is what we're saying? Oh, okay, all right, perfect. And then I had a question. I know some districts had mentioned about snow days, how they're looking about getting rid of them totally and making them virtual. I think we should still allow our children to have snow days and be children. I understand if we have 10 snow days, it gets a little ridiculous, but I wanted to know what our plan was in the district for that. And then my other question was, I don't know if this is for Ms. Santo, the protocol for the COVID testing. So if a child is sent home with COVID symptoms, I know some districts got rid of accepting the rapid test. So I didn't know if we are doing that as well, if the students need a rapid test, or if that's not accepted, if they need that longer, I don't know the name of it, I'm sorry. Okay, that longer test. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
I'm going to ask that Dean post these on board docs.
So that's on your website, right?
It'll be on our website. This way everyone can receive the answers. Very good questions.
I'll send you those. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Can you make sure you post those on? Yes. Okay.
I think that, Gail, can you at least answer the last question, because I think it's imperative to have that answer?
Yes, madam, the district is still accepting rapid tests. Thank you.
Number 4. 3. I don't have my glasses.
Good evening. This is the second time I'm here in a month asking why we're not offering a virtual option.
As of September 27th, New York State has once again been declared a state of emergency. If our healthcare system is being so effective with a lack of professional support, shouldn't we be trying to reduce that strain by offering a virtual option to our children? According to the data, nearly 1,700 students and 352 staff members tested positive as of September 13th on Long Island, the second highest in New York State. Given the current state of emergency, wouldn't it make sense to offer a virtual option to alleviate the potential strain on our limited healthcare system? You're not answering questions, but do you have any plans to reinstate a virtual option? I've emailed, but I haven't received that question answered.
Once again, it'll be on board docs. They will answer that question.
Okay. The second thing I'd like to address is Jackie brought up the mask exemptions. Is it true that your physician must review our doctor's mask exemption referral before it's approved? Your physician. What is that doctor's name? Your staff physician. Do you have his name?
Yes.
Go ahead, Gail.
It's Dr. John Gill. He is the district physician.
What is his specialty?
I believe he's a general practitioner. I don't know.
General practitioner. So not a pediatrician, not a pulmonologist.
Oh, excuse me.
Not a psychiatrist.
He has been affiliated with the district for 20 years.
But his specialty is general practitioner.
I can't speak to that.
You know
actually.
what, we're going to have him answer, because if we do this, this can go on all night long, and
Okay.
Have the name if you know the.
Just curious if he's denied any medical exemptions for mask at this point. Just wanted to know what his specialty was. Okay, for the CARES Act, $8 million, you said a few things. Curriculum writing, smart boards. I haven't noticed any new smart boards. There's still a bunch of old ones. Chromebooks, you stated last week, 2 weeks ago, that the Chromebooks charging stations were only $250,000. Chromebook carts, software programs, licensing, and staff training. That doesn't seem to add up to $8 million. So, I mean, I think we will be looking into that number because that doesn't seem right. The parents' questions that Lee Kennedy said that we should email, I've emailed many times. I've been ignored, and I feel like it's because you either ignore us or you redirect us because no one wants to be personally responsible to answer our questions. So pretty much our emails that Lee Kennedy said that we should direct to you are go unanswered. So we basically get nowhere, but thank you.
Number 4.
Bob, can we get a reconciliation on how that money's being spent? Oh, yeah, okay, Dean has that. Is that possible, put it on the website?
Yeah, it's only to date, like it's a multi-year.
Okay, so if you can just put on what we spent and whatever's left over and how the overage is going to be spent.
This money also has to be approved before, when we received it. It's nothing where you could spend and just say we want to do this, right? Am I correct in saying that?
There is money that's already been spent. We know that. There's money to be spent. We understand that there's a proposal for the money to be spent. What I'm asking for is year-to-date of the time that the monies were received, how was it spent? I want a reconciliation of that. And the proposal, I think it's roughly $2 million something dollars that you guys have over that you need to apply for to spend?
That's
roughly around?
2.8.
Correct. So I want to know what we have spent so far, a reconciliation, and how do we plan to spend the balance of the money?
So one of those, the grants, specifically the ARP grant, require us to form some committees throughout the community. So we'll be in the process of doing that as well. So you'll be hearing that from us.
Thank you.
Okay, number 5.
Hi, how are you? I'm trying to talk quick. My first issue, Ms. Santo, with all due respect, your immunization policy and all that, you guys do not communicate. And I'm going to tell you, there was a glitch in one of my children's paperwork. The school nurse was wonderful, reached out to me, emailed me. I emailed her back immediately. We had an ongoing dialogue. There was something that had to be adjusted and fixed, corrected. Within that time frame, I received 2 letters from your office, one that I had to go sign for. So clearly you didn't speak to the nurse, or no one in your office did. The other issue I have is that you send everything to the blank family. It is not a birthday card. It is not a wedding invitation. It is not a Christmas card. You should be sending sensitive mail or anything that refers to the children in the district to the parent or guardian of. Because to tell you the truth, the one letter that I had to sign for, which was ridiculous because it was already handled, and it was dated a week earlier when I had already spoken, and I have all of the emails to the nurse, it was addressed to my family. So anybody with my last name could pick it up. I almost couldn't get it from the post office because my ID has my name. It doesn't just have me as a family. And I think that that's completely unprofessional. It's the most basic common professionalism that should happen. And it happened numerous times when I was getting mail in the last couple of months, and I said, well, this is really odd. This must be something new. And now I get this again. So if we're going to be up on it, one, you need to be in communication with the schools because people are responding quickly, and that is one heck of a way to grab someone when someone's trying to do the right thing. I think it's ridiculous. Okay, so that's the one thing. The other thing, we continually talk about mental health, nonstop, mental health, and I think it's fantastic. We need to address mental health, but I really don't think anybody has this faintest idea how to start that. I'll start with this one. When you send the schedules out in August for the children, especially in the high school and the middle school it's a little bit better. There are no counselors here when they send the schedules out. So if your high schooler has an issue with their schedule, they have the wrong classes, something wasn't put in, there's nobody to talk to. There should be blackout dates where you need to have the counselors in the school. Teachers and staff have blackout dates that they really just can't take off from work. It's frowned upon. It's kind of a thing. It's very hard to get those days off. The kids go into school, especially a freshman who's going, oh my goodness, I don't know, this isn't the class I'm supposed to be in, there's a mistake in my schedule. Now they have to spend the first 2 weeks of school, put a drop ad, hoping that they get it. They should be able to speak to a live person, and so should a parent. I had an issue one year. Thankfully, my kid's guidance counselor was fantastic, but I did have an issue one year trying to get my child changed from a class that was incorrect, and it took almost 2 weeks and like 20 phone calls. And so they wasted the first 2 weeks of school, and they're doing work in a class that they're not going to be in because now they don't want to get a 0. They're stressed out. They're going to ruin their GPA. This is the most basic mental health thing we could do. We should be there for the children from the beginning. This is just common sense. Start the year. When the kids are walking in the door, they're confident. That's one less thing that they have to worry about, that they cannot get to a class, they're in the wrong thing, it's not right, I don't have the class I need. That should not be something that they have to worry about. That is the most basic thing that we could do as a district.
Thank you for that. Number 6.
Hi. I just want to express my feelings and how I actually take offense to the fact that the amount of money that we're saying is being probably going to be spent with these special attorneys and this cause to join a lawsuit and whatnot is sounding as though you're portraying it as not such a big deal. $50,000 is a big deal. Plus however much each correspondent that you mentioned, plus paying our own attorneys to show up here. God knows how many times that'll take place. I feel very strongly that this fight, whatever it may be, is not something that the district should be involved in. If people have problem with laws or mandates or whatever it is with their government, with their local government, with their, whatever it may be, well, go there and argue that. Don't come here asking for money that could be used for kids' programs and things and everything else to fight your cause. That's to me is unacceptable. I take offense to it. We shouldn't be involved in it at all. This is these people's personal agendas or whatever their things are. Go find your own attorney, pay for it. Go to the government, go to your governor, go to whoever mandates these things. Leave us out of it. We shouldn't be spending that money. Before we were talking about other litigations and how much it costs and all that. Those are not, that has nothing to do with something like this. This is money being spent to fight a group of people's cause. Shame on us for getting involved. Shame on us for using money that could be going to kids' programs. We have plenty of other things on our plate that we should be worrying about instead of this going on every single meeting now for how long? The start of school's gone on for a month now, month and a half. There are better things to be working on for these kids, don't we agree? There's a ton of things. Let's get out of this personal fight and whatever people's personal agendas are, whether they're out here or up here, there's no place for it on our school board. Thank you.
Number 7.
Sorry about that. Thank you. At the last meeting, I requested to get the CRR, the CRISA allocation. I believe that Mylyn spoke about that. I did speak to Gail Santos about that. I'd like to get the expenditure on that grant. I believe it's supposed to be on the school website so that everyone can see that. I'm also interested in finding out about the ARP portion of it as it relates to the ruler program. Some of the top priorities within New York's plan, which is required once you accept that funding, states that we need to provide social emotional support within a culturally responsive sustaining framework. If you go on to the New York State Department Education website, it talks about the culturally responsive framework. And within that, if you continue to dig deeper, it does talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a training that's examining implicit bias and interrogations of beliefs and assumptions, support in aligning curriculum and instruction to the histories, languages, and experiences of traditionally marginalized voices. So what's that mean for our history in our classrooms? Will it change? It also goes on to talk about inclusive curriculum and assessment. Current events incorporated into instruction, students as co-designers of the curriculum, resources written and developed by racially, culturally, and linguistic diverse perspectives. Instructional strategies that adapt to diverse learning styles. So we need a lot more explaining when it comes to this program. I asked for that at our last meeting. So my question is, when we accepted the CRISA grant, what do we sign up for? Thank you.
Number 8? No, number 8? Is there a number 9?
Hello, my name is Jason DeLuca. All right. Well, I want to start by saying that I am honestly disheartened to hear people in our own community feel that our children aren't worth $50,000 or whatever the amount may turn out to be, or that they feel there are more important things to be worried about other than our children's medical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. And I disagree, again, wholeheartedly. I believe this is exactly where we should be focusing our attention. It starts here. We're not up here groveling for money. We're asking that our tax dollars be used in a certain way, especially if the majority of our community agrees with how we feel. And again, and I personally like our shirts, others may not, but we are not anti-mask, we're not anti-vaccination or injections or anti-anything. Again, it's a freedom of choice. The entire purpose of us imploring you guys to join this lawsuit is to bring back local control. That's it. Because it's not just about masks, it's what's going to come next. It's going to be coming the vaccines that they're going to be trying to inject my 5-year-old daughter with, which I will not allow to happen, or what they're going to try to be teaching them next in school, or whatever else is mandated, which is a clear overreach, by the governor, which is why the other districts are having their lawsuits at this time, while we're sitting on the sidelines letting them do the heavy lifting. Again, this brings it back, and regardless of my personal feeling, and you can send your kids to school in 3 masks, 4 or 5 injections, bubble tape wrap, whatever you want to do. That's your right as a parent. That's your parental right to do that. My concern is that since, and everybody keeps saying, get the vaccines, we're going to, they're so safe, we promise you, you're going to do this, or you're going to make you lose your job, certain people, since they're so safe. But yet, they're so safe, but not one person is liable. Nobody. There's not one person. The governor, the DOH, the Board of Ed, any of you guys, teachers, doctors, anybody, if anything happens to my child, an immediate, long-term, anything happens to them, I have zero recourse whatsoever. So if they're so safe, why is nobody willing to risk their necks or put their necks on the line and actually say, you know what, hold me accountable because it's safe? Because we don't know, just like we don't know the long-term effects of these masks. And I'm tired of the one-size-fits-all approach. Every child is different. Every person is different. We can't just use this one-size-fits-all approach for everybody, that everybody is good with masks or everybody is good with the injections. Again, it's about local control. It's about bringing it back to us, and that's it, and letting each parent choose, because that's how it always was, and that's how it should be. I want to be able to have that choice for my 3 children. And if somebody else's children, if the masks don't bother them, that's wonderful. I love to hear that that doesn't bother them. But for me and a lot of parents, it does. And that's the whole reason that we're asking you guys to join the lawsuit. Little, again, upset by some going back and forth about why if we were joining. I last heard when I was here, I thought that you guys agreed to at least find out about the cost of the attorney. That's what I thought that you all agreed on, and that's what I heard. Don't want to name names after that. We found out that some people never even had any intention whatsoever about going forward with the lawsuit, which I don't understand why you would say one thing and do another. It just kind of shows the lack of concern for our concern for our children. And it shows the character of a few people.
Excuse me, sir, you way over your 3 minutes.
Oh, I appreciate you for letting me finish up. Thank you.
Okay. Number 10.
Hi, my kids graduated from the school in the district, and I'm here for the community. I have a question that when I was putting together my letter, all I want to ask is, can everybody that's on the board say that their votes and their choices are consistent with a sincere belief regarding what is in the best interest of students and other stakeholders, free from bias? That's a rule, and I don't think anybody's doing that. It's a community. It's not just kids. I have a 91-year-old neighbor. I have an 85-year-old neighbor. I'm immunocompromised. My husband is. My kids have asthma. It's not just the kids that are in school. It's the community. And a mask
Nobody's happy with it. Nobody wants to do it. But we're a community. Thank you. Hi, my name's Melanie Sametta. My son Gerard Canella wanted to come today, but he wasn't feeling well. So I wanted to take a minute to play the video that he wanted to speak. And then if I have a few minutes, then I'll do my part. But it's more important to hear what he has to say. So I'm going to play it.
Hello, everybody at the board meeting. I'm Jerry, and I'm making this video to basically say that the COVID tests and being forced to do this stuff has to stop. It's not fair on the children and the parents, and it needs to be changed. Because, and I'm going to say this, when I felt quote-unquote bad, which I didn't really feel the best before getting the COVID tests, right? But after getting the COVID tests and while getting them, I felt even more sick, right? And that's just facts, right? So all I'm saying is something is off with these tests. To me, at least. It feels like something's off with them. Also, it should be a choice. It should be a choice to get them. Also, when it comes to the whole mask thing, it's got to stop. And if what it takes to stop this is to get into the lawsuit to basically sue the governor, right? And get him out, or her, get her out, it should be done. It has to be done, you know? Because there are too many people that are suffering from this, you know? We claim, or not even, no, I don't claim, but people claim, and this is the government mainly, they claim that it's for our safety to wear masks. If it's for our safety, then why are more people killing themselves all the time? If it really is for safety, you got to really think about that. The suicide death rates have gone up substantially, like a high amount. They went up a lot, like from here to here. It's like, it's not just a game, it's just messed up. Now, if you can't tell, I really just, which people will probably tell that, hey, my voice kind of sounds raspy, but that's because I'm not exactly feeling the best. The thing is, like I was saying, we have to basically, how can I put it? Okay. We should be getting into the lawsuit because these masks, they gotta go. The government's not the, well, yeah, the government and the governor, they're not helping with this. They're making things worse. After the mask, it's gonna be the vaccine. After the vaccine, it's gonna be something else, you know?
Your 3 minutes has passed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted you to hear from my son because he needed to set, you know, it's very hard. This is a whole mental health piece that we have to address. Thank you for listening to him.
Lee, please do me a favor. If you're going to hold people to 3 minutes, I want everybody held to 3 minutes. Because in the beginning, you weren't holding people to 3 minutes.
Okay, number 11? 12? 12, okay.
If somebody's in the middle of talking, we normally gave them an additional minute or an additional time. Jesse, am I correct? We used to give people, if they were in the middle, 30 seconds or something?
I mean, I've always been guided by someone to do that. So a lot of times if it's like the middle of a sentence, they'll wrap up and usually.
Well, then can we get a consensus that if someone's in the middle of their sentence, to give them 30 seconds extra?
Yes.
That's fine by me.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. My name is John Nistico. I'm running for governor of the state of New York.
to the gentleman who said he has no recourse if something happens to his child, I want to refer you to the New York State School Board Association.org website, page 17, Article 3, Section 2, that clearly states that no district, superintendent, or individual board member is immune from independent lawsuits brought forth by the parents. So if something happens to his child, you're all liable. Okay? Next, as far as an agenda for people with masks, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States clearly states that no state shall impose a law that impinges on life, liberty, or personal property without due process or equal justice of the law therein. This mandate violates the 14th Amendment of the Constitution and the 6th Amendment of the Constitution because there has been no due process. So the board failing to join this lawsuit is violating each and every person in this room who doesn't want their child in a mask, is violating the 14th and 6th Amendment right of each one of those parents. Now, I want to ask anybody on this board, tell me what supersedes the Constitution of the United States of America? Anybody?
Answer session, sir.
There is nothing that supersedes the Constitution of the United States of America, okay? Now, in 1983, when I put on a uniform, I took an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. This is an attack on the Constitution. Anybody who wants to sue the board and sue the state can go to NISTICO, the number 4gov.com, and I will hook you up with my constitutional lawyer, and we will fight for our constitutional rights.
Number 13? I thought it was 12, but I was told it was wrong. Okay, 12.
Good evening. I'd like to read a letter that I actually emailed to all of you today. I want the community to hear this as well. Dear Connecticut Central School District School Board, we wish we could say welcome back to a promising new school year, but unfortunately due to the current state of affairs, this school year has started out under distress. Please accept this respectful advisement to heed the following action. Legal action against the state is in formulation. This legal action is instrumental to protecting the rights and local authority of parents, school boards, taxpayers, and more. The legal action is not a mask versus non-mask, unmasked lawsuit. This is about constitutional rights. New York Code's rules and regulations codified at 10 NYCRR 2.60 will remove all authority from duly elected school boards. That is all of you. Moving forward, schools will now be required to accept any mandate that is premised on this regulation. The process of writing, amending, and appealing policy is overridden under this regulation. Amazingly, the Department of Health repealed and revised a regulation by unilaterally ignoring its own mandated procedure with no legislative oversight. Under the guise of a public emergency, as a result of this illegal action, all stakeholders will fall under the jurisdiction of an unchecked authority to adhere to any mandate the Department of Health sees fit. They want you to wear purple just because they do? You got to do it. Sounds like fun, huh? Moreover, as Department of Health officials are not elected, the public has no recourse to free itself from these mandates. The Board of Education serves at the pleasure of the community. It is paramount at this juncture to maintain your elected autonomy. We implore you to follow suit with fellow board members from Massapequa and Locust Valley that are leading the charge against this unconstitutional and undemocratic regulation. There is a small window for our district to join this federal legal action and protect local control of school districts. So please be advised, it is in the best interest of the board, as the representatives of parents, to immediately contact Hamburger, Maxon, Yap, and Martingale regarding this lawsuit. Now, I read this. I see I only have a minute left, but I'll be brief. I read this, as I said, not just for you, but for the community. Because as taxpayers, what they need to know is that when the Board of Ed voted to follow these mandates, they had ultimately agreed to give up all of their power as our elected community members. They made themselves bound to adhere to any mandates the Department of Health sees fit, regardless of what's best for our community. The Board of Ed put their taxpayers under the jurisdiction of an authority that unconstitutionally gave themselves the power to govern every single one of us. They did this under the advisement of our legal team, which the legal team, by the way, by definition, is there to defend not to defend the union, the superintendent, or administration. They're there to defend the Board of Ed and the people. The legal team advised our Board of Ed to accept the mandate, so I would imagine, I know they're not here, that they have no intention of advising you to join this lawsuit. They kind of look a little foolish after all of that. So you have a duty to seek alternate legal counsel, especially when it falls right on your laps. Petition was sent over the summer with over 1,000 signatures of residents asking you to stand up for us. And you owe us your due diligence by at least taking advantage of the free consultation. It's free to speak to these lawyers, offered by them. If you deny it, you are in dereliction of your duties. I'm not going to reiterate how this mandate hurts the kids. We've said that many, many times, and apparently that doesn't mean a damn thing to you people. However, perhaps the thought of losing all of your power to the Department of Health will actually make you wake up and do something. So, are you hearing us now? You got to join this lawsuit, or at least speak to them. It's free.
Thank you. Number 13. 13. Is there 14? No.
It's not 3.5. We need just consensus.
No, it's only 3 minutes. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Motion?
Motion.
Second? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and have a nice evening. Be safe.